Namaskar. Namaskar and welcome back on the Eikam series on the Gita on the Go. Over the last couple of conversations, we've discussed and discovered and explored the nature of Tvam from Adhyaya 1 to Adhyaya 6, where we understood the nature of the human being. We understood fears, ego, insecurities. We understood the idea of karma, karma phala, how karma is inevitable. If you're here, you will perform the karma. And therefore, what's a way to deal with karma, understand karma, perform karma, and also detach yourself from the karma phala. And after we had understood the nature of Tvam, the human being, from chapters 1 to 6, we actually explored the idea of Tat, the consciousness, the universe, the principles on which the universe is based. And here we explored various aspects from the material aspects of the universe, the Pancha Mahabhuta. We spoke about the Manas, we spoke about Aham, we spoke about Viveka and Buddhi. We've touched upon how the Gunas and how they interweave the tapestry that is this universe, that is this cosmos. And from there we moved on to the unmanifest, the Brahman, the nature of the Brahman, Sat Chit Anand. And then through the conversation between Arjun and Bhagwan Sri Krishna, Bhagwan Sri Krishna allows us to glimpse, just taste and experience that absolute divine version of the cosmos. First, by elevating Arjun into the Vibhuti Yoga and the divine glories, and then revealing his own Vishwarupa form, the darshan, the one that is the cosmos. And we realized it was very, very difficult for both Arjun and for us to hold it, to sustain it. It's overwhelming. Understanding and becoming one with the cosmos is completely overwhelming. And so therefore, Arjun prays to Bhagwan Sri Krishna, come back to me, be my anchor, be the four-armed person that I know you to be. Allow me to make this journey. Teach me how to make this journey. And that is where we closed chapter 12 on the context of understanding Bhakti Yoga, and how Bhagwan Sri Krishna tells him that, look, it's a journey that will require you to be constant, to be proficient, to be sufficient. You need to stay at this path always. And that's where we closed chapter 12 of the Bhakti Yoga from the Bhagwad Gita. Now we start chapter 13. Honestly and frankly, chapter 13 is my favorite chapter, and you will realize why. But over the course of the next few conversations, we will explore Asi, Tat Tvam Asi, that you are. We've done you, we've done that. But what is this are? And this is where I welcome Samir back with us. Namaskar, Samir. As always, pleasure and a privilege. Samir, एक बात बताएं before we get into the chapter 13. I have personally always maintained that, and we started this also from saying that the Bhagavad Gita really is the ultimate source code of life, living, existence, everything there is. And now why I am very excited about stepping into chapter 13 is because this is where we begin that journey of R. I'd love for you to tell us, as we step into the Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga, ये R क्या है? मतलब हम क्या होने जा रहे हैं? हमने establish तो कर दिया, त्वम भी हो गया, तत् भी हो गया. And this is like, a trailer conversation, जिसमें I just want to ask you कि क्या हम actually over the next few conversations, we will be able to span Tvam to Tat and reach that level of absolute divine glory?
So, thank you for asking that question as usual. See, chapters 1 to 12, we've done the theory. And as corporate trainers, the theory के बाद क्या आता है?
Practicals, lab में जाएंगे.
Lab में जाएंगे. तो ये अभी ना chapters 13 to 18 actually lab है.
Perfect.
मगर lab में भी जाने के पहले lab में क्या करना है ये भी तो बताना जरूरी है.
Correct.
So chapter 13 specifically is telling us what to do in the lab.
Okay. And 14 to 18, we will do it.
And we will actually do it.
Wow.
Hopefully. So now here comes the basis of chapter 13. Actually, he had given us the theory very early, way back. Right?
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2, of course. But even later on, in the Akshara Brahma Yoga in chapter 8, he told us that Arjuna asked, what is this Brahman? He said, Akshara Brahman. Akshara. That which does not decay, that which does not have Kshaya. Difficult to understand, right? So now he starts using Arjuna's language. I always say this, that one of the best communicators in the world has been Sri Krishna. He says, there is the Kshetra, the field. Kshetra, the word literally means Kshetra, means field. Kurukshetra, for example, the field of the Kurus. And there is the Kshetragyna, he who knows the field. And anything that is in the field is always changing, and anything that is not changing is the Kshetragyna. Again, he always puts things in a summary or a nutshell first, and he gives it to us, right? This is why the chapter itself is called Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga. So Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga, understanding what is the field, and that it is ever changing, and the Kshetragya who never changes. That gives us the theoretical construct of what we will need to do to understand how this lab will work.
Okay. So in order for the field or the Kshetra to be forever changing and for the Kshetragya to be constant, what do they mean? How do we identify them? How do we know what ends where and where the other begins?
Okay. Very nice. So when you look around you, when you look first onto you yourself, are you the same as you were yesterday?
No.
Now, that might not be so very visible.
But inside me, let's say I know.
Right.
So I've aged by a day,
correct,
etc.
Right. But now if I look at you, or you look at your photograph of yours, 20 years back, 30 years back, would you still be the same?
I'm hoping so, but no.
So, but did you, at that point of time, know yourself to be you?
Yes.
So whenever anybody
So that
asks
20-year-old was also me, the 30-year-old was also me, the 40-year-old is also me.
And physically, however, were you the same?
No, unfortunately, but no.
That changed. So now tell me, this body that changed, is it part of Kshetra or is it part of Kshetragya?
So very clearly Kshetra. This is simple.
Right? This is simple.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's say I woke up today in the morning, and when I woke up, I had Marley next to me. Right? And he was purring very loudly. So what do you think was my state of mind when I woke up?
Clearly worried, concerned, angry, irritated, but mostly concerned.
Why?
Because
I said Marley was sitting next to me and purring.
Oh, like happily purring?
Yes, purring.
Okay.
Cats.
See, I'm not a cat person. No, it's okay.
Okay.
So purring cats are happy cats.
Purring
Okay,
cats
sorry. Then you woke up happy and you woke up.
Right? And cats don't
Thrilled.
cuddle.
Correct.
Right? But he came and cuddled. So I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled. Right? And then, like all people, I also picked up my phone, and the first thing I see is one of my clients has cancelled a particular program. Now what happened to my mind?
Not happy.
The unhappy me and the happy me, is the me same? But did my mind change?
The mind was completely different, obviously. But then if you're identifying yourself in your body, in your mind, in your
Which is
intellect,
what the whole chapter is about. Saying that once you understand what is it that is changing, that's, what is it called? Kshetra. And you are not the Kshetra. You are what? You are the Kshetragya. So therefore, in the next, continuing the exposition, he says, these things that are around you, whatever is made up of the physical gross elements, whatever is made up of the manas, whatever is made of the buddhi, right? I was a very hardcore, I grew up in Bengal, so it was a hardcore communist when I was in college. And We had a professor, a fairly well-known person, Professor Vishwanathan, and he used to say, if you are in college and not a communist, you are a fool.
Yes.
If you are out of college and still a communist, you are a bigger fool. Right? Now, what happened? As I grew into business, as I grew into my job, I realized that capitalism was a better place to be. Ayn Rand was now, Karl Marx changed to Ayn Rand. What happened to my intellect?
It changed.
It changed. Did my sense of I change? Therefore, that sense of I, which is watching all these changes, is what is called the Kshetragyna. And therefore, he very clearly defines it, saying anything that has been made of the 5 elements, anything that composes the mind, anything that composes the intellect, anything that has the ego involved in it is nothing but the Kshetra. And what did not change in you throughout this entire journey is your sense of I. This I that existed all the time is what he calls the Kshetragya. In various other language that we will see, he will also call it the Purusha. So that is how we understand this. Now we have, if this is the lab and the theory of the lab, now the question comes,
how do I practice?
Correct, which is what we will do in the later chapters.
So essentially, Samir, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but essentially what we will be practicing is the ability to discern Kshetragya from the Kshetra.
One.
The relationship between the Kshetra and the Kshetragya and how they engage, interact and how they need to get together. And now the engagement of the Triguna.
Yes. Because the Trigunas are what drives all of
Correct.
this. Right? And we will look at that.
Correct.
However, we can't stop there. Because I have established, let's say I use this lab and I understand this and I understand that I am Purusha.
Yes.
And I am not the Prakriti, right? Which is composed of these 8 things.
Yes.
The 5 tattvas,
Yes.
Manas, Buddhi and Ahamkara.
Yes.
And he told us that way back in chapter 7 also.
Yes.
He repeats that. Repetition is the mother of retention is what I have heard you say. So, Krishna understands that way much better than us and he repeats it again and again. But what is interesting is that the recipient's knowledge or awareness has changed. So he's looking at the same knowledge, but now he's moving forward with a degree of awareness.
So, so we've actually experienced this earlier as well, Samir. This is the same, it's like the way I see it is that spiral. We come back to the same point, but with greater elevation. At greater elevation.
Beautiful analogy.
So we spoke about this earlier when we spoke about the sadhana chatushtya, right? We spoke about vivek, vairagya, we spoke about the shatchampat, and we spoke about the mumukshatva. This was in the context of karma. It was just in the context of saying that if you want to detach yourself from the karma phala and be able to focus on the karma itself, etc., we did this in that context, right? And remember that when we did chapter 12, we again came back to these 4 qualities.
Yes.
And there we were doing this in the context of bhakti, in the context of having seen the Vishwarupa Darshan and therefore making the journey from Arjun today to Arjun who can experience Vibhuti Yoga, to Arjun who can see the Vishwarupa Darshan. And there again we spoke about the same 4 qualities with the difference, and again it was a more elevated understanding where we spoke about Nitya Viveka. So we actually qualified that Viveka to say know the difference between what's temporary and what's permanent, eternal. Iha mudra karma phala vairagya. Which is again the same thing about distancing yourself from karma phala, but this time it was more again elevated. And then we spoke about the Shadashampat and we spoke about Mumukshatva, right? So obviously we are in the same realm. We've already, like we said, established the alphabet. Now we're just making sentences.
Words.
Then sentences.
Yes.
And through this journey, we will figure out, and that's what I'm hoping for, that once we've discussed the concept of the Kshetra and the Kshetragya, we will again bring back these concepts, but now in the context of being able to write a book on it, or at least paragraphs.
So let me put it like this. Let's just look at mumukshatva. Let's also look at the equation of change. Right? dissatisfaction with present reality.
Huh.
Step 1. Step 2, knowledge of the first steps required to get away from the present reality.
Yes.
And an understanding of the goal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
These are the 3 steps.
Yes.
Merely being dissatisfied is not going to make that change.
Yes.
But I will start off on the journey.
Yes.
Which is where we did chapter 6. We sat down, we said, okay, don't sit too high, don't sit too low, don't sit without eating, but don't have a full stomach, blah, blah, blah. Right? Krishna
Yes.
told us the entire methodology.
Yes.
But at that point of time, the methodology was without the goal in sight. So you were dissatisfied, you
Yes.
sat down. Now, in chapter 12, he gave us the goal.
Huh.
So now the path becomes far more clear, far more, you can see the goal. Right? The Shat Sampat don't go away. The Shat Sampat are basically your emotional assets that you are going
Yes.
to carry with you throughout.
The way I love to see it, Samir, is that they are the muscle. This is the basic, वो कहते हैं ना हड्डी और मांसपेशियों का जो ढांचा होता है. This is basically the skeleton, and then we continue to build up muscle. You continue to strengthen the bones and build the muscle.
Because he doesn't get away from that even in this chapter.
Yes.
Because in this chapter, and if I will allow me to,
Yes.
to read, he says that the qualities that we are looking at, amanitvam, right? What is amanitvam? It is humility.
Yes.
Did we talk about humility somewhere in the Shat Sampat?
Yes.
Not directly,
Not
but
directly,
we talked
but
about Shama, we
Yes.
talked about Dhamma.
We
So,
spoke about
so,
Titisha,
so,
yes.
so then he talks about unpretentiousness. He talks of ahimsa. He talks of Kshama. He talks of uprightness. He talks of the service to the teacher, purity, steadfastness, self-control. Chapter verses 8 to 12, he enumerates a whole bunch of qualities that are required for the sadhak to acquire, maintain and develop and maintain if he wants to now go on that journey. He never talked about these when he was talking about Dhyana Yoga.
So I want a preview on this. When we go through chapters 14 to 18, will we also talk about how these get developed?
Oh yes, because see, these will again get divided into the 3 gunas.
Yes.
The sattvic ones, the rajasic
Yes.
ones, and so on and so
Yes.
forth. So in that classification, I quite often talk about this. You know, somebody comes and gives a very nice speech.
Yes.
And his teacher is sitting in the same classroom. And you say, brilliant speech. मेरे लिए नहीं हुआ, वो उन्होंने ही किया. False humility
Is not humility.
is not humility.
No.
Or actually it is humility, it's tamasic humility.
Understood. Understood.
Right.
So we will explore this.
The
as we
other
go.
humility would be, yes, thank you, right? And you feel great. Higher level of humility would be accepting that praise with gratitude. That I got an opportunity to do this. And that is sattvic humility. So every quality can be divided into 3 parts. And of these, therefore, we move to the sattvic. That's the lab. That's the lab. But let me come back to where we stopped. You have understood that you are the Kshetragya. So you are one Kshetragya, I am another Kshetragya.
Yes.
Is that your reality? Now he very clearly says
We are all
that
one.
can't be.
No.
In chapter 11.
We are all one.
We are all one. So how do we go there? So then the whole process comes of understanding the levels at which this Kshetragya operates. It's the same Kshetragya,
Okay.
but he operates at different levels.
So what are the levels at which this Kshetragya operates?
First, let's understand that is that a possibility at all or not, right?
Huh.
So the CEO drives his car to the office.
Yes. He's
So
the
what is
doer.
he?
He's the doer.
He's the driver.
Driver. Huh.
He's the driver. He's
Huh.
not the CEO.
No, he's not the CEO. He's the driver.
Right? He goes into the office. He orders people around, gets work done, blah, 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 strategizes, does all that. So what is he now?
He's the CEO. He's the leader.
Comes back home. His wife's just come back from shopping and she dumps all the bags out at the door and says, "Utha ke bhitar rakh dena." Now he's the coolie.
Yes.
Right? We all play different roles, isn't it? Depending upon our relationship with the things around us, we play different roles. Now, the Kshetragya has different things that it is playing around with. What is it playing around with? Playing around with the body,
The mind and the intellect.
the intellect, and the ego.
Yes.
So, as it involves, or as this construct which is Prakriti gets more and more closer to an understanding, rather the Kshetragya becomes closer and closer involved and peels off all these false pretentiousness of identification, it actually shines through. How does this involvement happen?
How do we shed those layers? How do we...
Correct. How does this involvement happen? How does it, as the layer shed, the involvement happens greater.
So I'm going back to our coaching practice, where all change moves from awareness to acknowledgement to acceptance to action to appreciation. Has to be the same process or in some form.
Correct.
So what are the steps of that transition?
So first I'll tell you a story from the Mundaka Upanishad.
Yes.
Mundaka Upanishad, right? It's a famous story. It's a story of the two birds.
Yes.
So there's this bird sitting on the top and it's only looking around, blissfully sitting, just doing nothing.
Yes.
Right? It just is.
Yes.
So what do we call it? Sat. Right? It is.
Yes.
And it appears to be very blissful.
Yes. So
And it is fully aware
of its bliss.
of its bliss and its existence.
Yes.
So I'll not lead you to answer the question that obviously is popping into my mouth. So what do we call it? No, you don't answer. But there is another bird on the floor and it's busy, right? It's busy pecking food, looking around, wondering whether there's somebody trying to catch it, right? It's just busy with that life of its.
Running around like a headless chicken, as they say. Headful chicken.
Headful chicken with a lot of eye inside and continuously searching, dissatisfied, food, mate, and so on and so forth. Then it just happens to glance and see, oh, there's this bird sitting there and it's so happy, it's doing nothing. Let me see, can I get closer to it? And it jumps one branch up. But it's still, it keeps looking, but it's still busy. And in this journey, it keeps moving up. And when it reaches the top, it looks down and it sees, there's no me. I was the same bird that was there. There were no two birds. There was only one bird. And you know what Krishna says here? He says, Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purushah paraha. What a beautiful description. He says there are 5 levels. The bird that was there at the bottom pecking away, I am only the Upadrashta. I am the witness.
I am the witness.
Right? Remember now we talked about the witness consciousness.
I am the witness to my body.
To my body, mind, intellect, which is involved with the rest of the body, mind, intellect of the rest of the world.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
I am the Upadrashta. Then he says, as you move forward, I become something that allows this to happen. Right? Now go back to Karma Yoga. Right? I do karma through. So this bird is completely involved with the pecking. And there is the witness consciousness. Now, can the witness consciousness be the same as everything that is around? Is that journey. So now he moves from Upadrashta to Anumanta.
Okay.
The karma is being done by me through the bodies. Right?
Yes.
Then he says, I am the Bharta, I am the fulfiller. The karma phala, the karma action, the movement itself, the process itself is also coming from the consciousness.
Yes.
Then he says, when you enjoy the fruits, who is actually enjoying? The body? No, the body can't enjoy it. Right? The mind can't enjoy it because it's permanently changing. So I, the witness consciousness, now am at the level of enjoyment. And then you realize, actually, I am the one who is doing everything. It's not your body, it's not your mind, it's not your intellect, it's not your ego. I am the one who is doing everything. I am Maheshwara. But he takes it one step forward. And then he says, not only is it Maheshwara for you, but I am essentially the Maheshwara in every human being, and hence I am Paramatman. Right?
So the last is the transition from Vibhuti to, so I am the best of me and understanding and living in awareness of my own self, to the Vishwarupa, that we are all together.
I wouldn't go there at this point of time by saying that let's keep the Tat and let's keep the Tvam and we've understood them. Joining them is a process.
Okay. So, Samir, there is some, and I want to share this with you and bounce it off you. Literally translated, the Kshetra is is region, it's field, and therefore it's also, so the way I relate to it also is in terms of the locus of control theory, of saying that the Kshetra is that which is my field, that which I play in. So my bodies, my emotional body, my physical body, my intellectual body, etc. And the rest of it is the Kshetragya.
Correct.
Okay. Now, the way I find it very easy to or simple to also explain in either coaching or leadership lessons or whatever is also in the context of saying that as long as, so a lot of our panic, fear, like that bird on the ground, a lot of our panic, fear, insecurities, anger, irritation, hurt, all of that also comes because we operate not from our kshetra, not from our bodies of control, but concern, something that somebody else does or somebody else has done or not done, or it's the other, right? So I find it very useful to actually talk about or have this shift. ये जो आप 5 steps of shift बता रहे हैं, from the doer, from the witness to the doer to enjoying it, and then eventually moving to the Maheshwara and the Paramatman stage. I find it very useful to understand in more layman terms of saying that what if be aware of my emotions or be aware of what's happening in my various bodies, and depending on, and then identify to say कि कहाँ पे ये मेरे कंट्रोल में है और कहाँ पे ये मेरे कंट्रोल में नहीं है. What is it that I can do, think, feel, etc. and what is it that I can't. And I found that just driving that awareness shifts that locus of control into us. It expands my kshetra.
So that's a very nice interpretation. However, from the perspective of the Tat and the Tvam, the process actually needs to be understood.
Yes.
And therefore, throughout, we will not look, we will look back at Tat and Tvam quite often, but we will not delve into them, but we will keep to the process.
Okay.
So the process here is to understand that I, the eternally free,
Yes.
eternally existing, eternally blissful, have layered myself with various things because of which I don't shine through.
And this is what we will explore as we go from 14 to 18.
And to understand this, I use a particular analogy. Let's take a lamp.
Yes.
And let's say that it's basically covered, right? I don't know if you would have seen those hurricane lamps we used to have. They were called hurricane lamps because they would not go off in a hurricane. They were almost
Protected,
sealed
yes.
with the chimney, right?
Yes.
And they would glow.
Yes.
And what we would do is we would have, when I was growing up, we would have power cuts. And we would have this lamp actually all the time burning in the evening, even if there was power, because we never knew when the power was going off. And it would be very dim, or it would have a piece of paper on top of it, right? And the moment the power went off, you removed that and it shone through.
Yes.
Now, was the light not there? It was always there.
Yes.
So now let's say that there's this lamp and it's covered with various layers, right? And the top is a tarpaulin.
Yes.
So I remove the tarpaulin.
Yes.
Can I see the light? No, because you see there is a thick velvet cloth
Yes.
around. So I remove that. Now there is a cotton cloth. I remove that, right? Then there is a sort of silk cloth. I remove that. And then I remove the muslin or the muslin that is there. And the moment I removed that, the line completely shone through, right? Now you look at all of these. When the tarpaulin was also there, was the light there?
Yes.
Was it visible?
No.
So what was the light doing at that point of time?
Being.
Just being upadrashta, observing. Not involved.
Got it.
Not involved. तुमको चोरी करनी है करो. तुमको लोगों को मारना है मारो. तुमको किसी की सेवा करनी है करो. तुम मुझे नहीं पहचानते हो. तुम सोच रहे हो कि तुम कर रहे हो. Upadrashta.
Have your
Right?
fun.
एक player निकल गया. Now go back to Mundaka Upanishad and look at the bird, and the bird's now gone one level higher. One layer has gone. It started looking at the light. So if you look at the inner side of the velvet cloth, it possibly started feeling the light, right? And as we keep pouring it out, taking it out, it comes to that point of that muslin cloth alone covering it, Maheshwara. And then that muslin cloth also is removed. Light eternally existing shines through as
It's all light.
That is the beauty of the Asi portion, where he actually shows us how this delayering can happen. In verses 8 to 12, he gives us a whole large list, a very large list, right, of qualities that we need to start working with. Because these are the qualities that help us remove these layers.
Yes. Yes.
The light is eternal.
Yes.
It is this removal of the layers that one by one allow us to shine through.
Perfect. And I'm so looking forward to exploring that, Samir, as we go from chapter 14 to chapter 18 on the Eikam series, on the Gita on the go. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaste. Harihi Om Iti Srimad Bhagwad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Samvade Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga Nama Trayodashodhyayah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Na 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 na